Today, we're making chanko nabe, a soup very popular with sumo wrestlers. It's extremely easy to make. You can add whatever ingredient you wish, and it feeds the whole family in one pot. Let's do it. Every single ingredient in this recipe is optional, except for the water. First, we're going to make a mushroom dashi and use the mushroom later to make our chicken meatballs. Dried kelp and water. You can use chicken stock or you can use just plain water for this dish. The number one rule to chanko nabe is that there are no rules. Slowly bring it to a bare simmer. Alright, after 5 minutes, the seaweed comes out. You can save them to make a cold salad later. Dry shiitake goes in. If you have the time, you can just let them soak for a couple of hours. For us to speed things up, we're just going to bring it to a bare simmer so they soften in about 20 minutes. During that time, we're going to prep our vegetables. We have some carrots. The smaller you cut them, the faster they cook. Yellow carrots. Some daikon. Traditionally, you either add some sake or mirin to this soup, mainly for sweetness. But because we're using so much carrots and daikon, they'll naturally make the soup quite sweet. Chinese cabbage. Again, they impart a lot of sweetness to the soup. If you ever had wonton noodle soup, that's also where the sweetness comes from. I say we use half a head. It looks like a lot, but they actually shrink down quite a bit. The closer you get to the white part, the thinner I like to slice them because they take a bit longer than the leaves. And I personally like to grate a bit of ginger. I started cooking this soup without salt, mainly for my daughter, and turned out the whole family now we don't add salt because it really doesn't need it. Now we've done all the prep, we'll just wait for the mushroom to soften, and then we can make the soup and make the meatballs. I'll see you then. Once the mushrooms have softened, and this is cool enough to handle, you just take them out, you squeeze the excess liquid, and we mince them. Dry shiitake, they make such good chicken meatballs. You want about 4:1 chicken mince to shiitake ratio. Now, to make the soup, pass our mushroom dashi through a sieve. You can even line it with kitchen towel if you want a very, very clean one. Normally don't bother. Bring this back to a boil. The mushroom strips, they go back in. And we add our vegetables. Top it up with just enough water to cover most of them. The veggies themselves would release a lot of liquid. Once it starts to boil, lid on. And if you want to make a vegetarian version, this is your dinner in 20 minutes. Now, to make the meatballs, we have some chicken mince. To that, we add the minced shiitake and some white pepper. Again, you can add anything you like, really. The only reason I'm not salting is because this is for my daughter as well. Otherwise, feel free to add some salt. Crack an egg. And you just mix, ideally with gloves, but I ran out. This is good consistency. Once the vegetables have softened, we'll add the meatballs. All right, after about 20 minutes, we check on our soup. Beautiful. As you can see, everything has mostly softened. And don't forget the meatballs themselves, they take a bit of time. You don't really have to wilt everything now. Perfect, let's make some meatballs. So very simple, you can do it any way you want. I like to use 2 teaspoons. You just scoop a tiny bit. You want them quite small so they cook quickly. That's 1. All right. I think that's good enough. We add our grated ginger, bring it back to the boil, and we cook it with the lid on for 10 minutes. I'll see you then. All right, after 10 minutes, we're ready. And normally I would just bring the whole thing to the dining table, put that in the middle. You can have this with some rice, some noodles, some bread, and that's dinner for the whole family. But let's plate one today, shall we? This is Chanko Nabe, a soup that is good enough for sumo wrestlers. I really hope you enjoy.